I'm just a paranoid and grumpy Vietnam vet. And basically, I just want to live my life and be left the hell alone. But every once in a while, even old medics need to come out of the woodwork and try to fix things. This is my way to solve the employment problem in the United States. It's not the only way. But if you think those scum-sucking, money-grubbing politicians are going to fix things here, you're crazy. If you think that transnational corporations that are only interested in profits around the world are going to fix things, you're even crazier. So it's up to us. If you have a better way to fix things, bring it forward. Right now, the world has over 7 billion people in it. And we cannot fix things around the entire world. We cannot. But what we can do, for the short time that we still remain as the largest economy on the planet, what we can do is lead by example. Now, we sit in the United States with a population of over 314 million. China has a population of over 1.3 billion. India has a population of over 1.2 billion. Those two countries alone have a population of over 35% of the entire planet. Here's an actor who's done tons of television shows and movies, but is best known nowadays as Uncle Fester, a character he played on the Addams Family television show in the late 60s. Remember when I said you need to lead by example? Well, Jackie Coogan did just that. He was a veteran. And this is a veteran people don't even know was a veteran for the most part. But he was a genuine war hero. And he did very heroic things. But what's interesting about this veteran is he ended up changing the laws in the United States. Jackie Coogan starred in a lot of movies when he was a child. And he did a movie with Charlie Chaplin. He worked as a child star. And in those days, the early days before talkies, he made between $3 and $4 million. When you adjust it in our income today, that's like $65 million. In those days, labor laws that covered children were missing. And as a result, all the money that a child made acting in a movie went to the parents. 100% of the money was spent by his mother and his stepdad. In 1938, Jackie decided to sue them. But after legal expenses, he only received $126,000. And they only had $250,000 remaining of everything he earned in all those years. When Jackie fell on hard times, Charlie Chaplin stepped in and gave him financial support. But the legal battle drew the attention of some politicians. And finally, the child labor laws changed. In California, it became known as the California Child Actors Bill. People just called it the Coogan Bill. The point is, he changed the way things work in the United States. Jackie could have been really, really bitter, and he could have led his life in a bitter way, but he didn't. Jackie took up the cause of Armenians and Greeks and others who were left destitute because of the horrors of the First World War. And in 1924, on a children's crusade, as part of a fundraising drive, he ended up providing more than $1 million in clothing, food, and other items. They would be worth more than $13 million today, and he basically did this alone. He was honored in the United States, he was honored in Greece, and in Rome, where he got to meet the Pope. It was one of the more exciting things in his life. After the attack of Pearl Harbor and World War II started, Jackie, who had some flying experience, became a glider pilot. An extremely dangerous job. And in December of '43, his unit was sent to India. He flew British troops, and he landed them at night in small jungles, 100 miles behind the Japanese lines. 100 miles behind Japanese lines in Burma. He hiked back out. That's what he did. He was truly a hero. The interesting thing about Jackie Coogan is the last time we changed our labor laws was basically in the 30s and the 40s. And it's time to change them again. Corporations like to tell you that the American worker is the most efficient worker on the planet. Business leaders say that all the time. They don't really mean it. If they meant it, they wouldn't treat workers as a liability. They'd treat them as an asset. But the fact is, they're a pesky liability that they need to spend money on. I'm going to demonstrate this with a series of animations to show how the corporations over the years have avoided the labor laws, have pitted the middle class against itself, and have actually lowered the standard of living for the middle class in the entire United States. Corporations treat their executives really well. The workers, not so much. Take this excellent worker, Average Joe. To the corporation, every worker appears the same. They all look the same, and they're worth the same. They're actually considered a liability because they cost them a lot of money. But they need them to get the work out to sell the products or services that they provide. So they deal with the workers, but they're not happy about it. Joe is a good worker. He works an extra 10 hours a week in overtime. Trouble is, the company doesn't like paying extra money for this overtime. What a problem. Then they come up with a brilliant idea. Why don't we give Joe a raise? Not a real raise, mind you. We'll just give him a little bit of money, make him a manager, put him on a flat salary, and we never have to deal again with pesky overtime. But now, instead of 10 hours extra a week, Joe's working 20. And he sees his family less, and he's getting stressed. But Joe, Average Joe, is a great worker, and he keeps plugging along. The CEO decides he needs to make this quarter look great. He needs to make it look wonderful. He's up for a job at another corporation. And so the best way to do that is to save money. And the best way to save money is to let Joe go. So he gets rid of Joe. New managers come in and they find out the books were cooked. Now they can't blame the previous CEO because they may need a job from him sometime in the future. So what do? They go to Bob and they say, Bob, you're now doing Joe's work or you're out. The economy's bad, we'll fire you. You're doing Joe's work and Bob's. Now they decide to replace Bob because after all they need some more bonus money and they've outsourced a few positions. To the rescue comes Sue, and Sue is a great worker. Sue can do Joe's work, Sue can do Bob's work, and Sue can do Sue's work. The trouble is, Sue is going out on maternity leave and she'll sue them if they don't take care of her. What a disaster for the corporation. They now have to send Sue's work to Tom. And Tom's really stressed out and doesn't like doing Sue's work and Bob's work and Joe's work besides Tom's own work, and Tom has a nervous breakdown. Now they hire the hotshot Sam, and Sam's a great employee. The trouble is, Sam complains about every single thing under the sun. So they get rid of Sam and they hire Fred. And Fred's really great. He's the wonder kid. He's young. He can balance work, so they give him more work and extra work on top of that. And eventually they work Fred to death. Oh no, now the corporation has no one left to do the work that they need to get done. But hooray, they've had a hidden insurance policy on Fred he didn't know anything about, and they made money when they worked him to death. Let's rip to the point of all this. In order for this to work, everybody must give up something. And I mean everybody. The workers, the employers, the politicians. Everyone must sacrifice. There are people that like their jobs, but a lot of Americans hate their jobs. They hate what the transnational corporations have done to them. Don't get me wrong, they're happy to have a job, but the fact that some of them are forced into 120-hour work weeks is nuts. It's ridiculous. So the first thing we're going to do is compute everyone's salary to an hourly equivalent. And when I say everyone, I mean every single person. The workers, the managers, the assistant manager, the directors, the presidents, and every CEO. Everyone needs to be on an hourly rate. We can say that the average worker works 40 hours a week here in the United States. Let's assume that. It's really nonsense considering what they've done. They've gotten more efficiency out of American workers by working them more and more hours, salaried hours where they don't get paid. For the workers, one of the things they need to give up is the 8-hour workday. 8-hour workday is out the window. It needs to go. For the employers, one of the things they need to give up is the 5-day work week. 5-day work week out the window. It needs to go. We need 10 hours a day, 4 days a week. That's it. In order to make this work, we need to make it illegal for any worker to work for any company or corporation for more than 4 days a week. 100% illegal. And when I say any company and any corporation, you cannot have a person working for one division, then another division. It's anything that's connected. They can work for other organizations, but not for any single company. Illegal unless there's excessive overtime, and I mean really excessive overtime. So 4 days a week is the maximum you can get out of any worker. You might ask, what does a 4-day work week do? Well, what it does for a worker who's spending, say, $20 a day on gas, not out of the ordinary in Los Angeles, he would have 1 day less, a 20% savings on gas each and every week. That's for a worker. For a company that can only work 1 shift a week, they get to cut down their heating or cooling bills 3 days a week. So they don't need to keep the company as air conditioned. They don't need to keep it as warm 3 days a week. Their energy costs go down. What about businesses that need to work 7 days a week? They need the business 7 days a week. Well, there we use the 3-day workers. And we make it illegal for any worker to work for any company or corporation or any of their affiliations in any way more than 3 days a week, 12 hours a day. Those 36 hours translate into real money for the economy. In a consumer-driven economy, the more people that are working, the better it is for the economy. A lot of people think, oh, we've got lazy Americans now that don't work as much as they should. Folks, we have too many people in the world. We have too many. And if we're not going to do anything about population control, we need to lower the number of days that people can work. We need to bring more people into the workforce. I agree with Henry Ford on this. You pay your employees a living wage, and then they have enough money to buy the products you make. We need to bring more people into the workforce. 4 days a week means a lot for the country. It means there's more money to spend on restaurants. There's more money for the motion picture business. There's more money for businesses in general. And as a plus, there's more time you can spend with your children. There's less stress. There's more time you can spend with your family. More time to exercise and stay healthier. More time to do volunteer work. Now the rules. And here I operate under the KISS principle. And by that I mean keep it simple, stupid. So if you are an individual company or corporation that has 1 or more employees, you must comply. If you're self-employed and you work with your spouse, then you're exempt. But everybody else must comply. Many of you may ask what to do about overtime. Overtime's simple. Every hour of overtime is 1/2 of a whole day's pay added to the income. You make it so expensive, the companies will never ever do it. And of course, for emergency workers, when there's an emergency, when they're putting their lives on the line, they should get overtime money. This will work if we give it a try. The trouble is, the powers that be that want to maintain the status quo, these people do not want to try anything. They're fearful it actually might work. They love the way things are. These people want to keep their advantage. These people don't want to make any changes to the system. They want to keep it dysfunctional and unfair. We need to fix things. We need to change our labor laws right now. We need to stop the middle class from further slipping away. We need to level the playing field. We need to have an equal system. We need to stop corporations from piling up cash that they have no intent of spending in the United States. They use our infrastructure. They're protected by our police. We give them patent laws, and what do they give us in return? Hidden bank accounts in the Cayman Islands. They use our legal system. They have arbitration. You cannot sue them. They can sue you. We need to fix this. We need to deal with this. We need to take care of this while we're still one nation and can do so. Because if we don't, the results for all of us in the United States will truly be catastrophic. To those of you who have never worn the uniform, who have never saluted the flag in uniform, who have never sacrificed, who have never put your life on the line for another human being, understand that sometimes it's hard for veterans to have respect for our leaders when we don't see any sacrifice from them. Sometimes you need to take one for the team. This is the paranoid and grumpy Vietnam vet. Until the next time, ciao dam bien.